Welcome to the Joy of Cruising podcast with your host, award-winning author Paul C. Thornton, a weekly conversation with the amazing cruisers featured in the Joy of Cruising trilogy, comprised of The Joy of Cruising, Cruising Interrupted, and new release, The Joy of Cruising Again. Each book is a compilation of features about cruisers and cruise and travel personalities from around the world. It's the next best thing to cruising, hearing about cruising from the unique and diverse perspectives of Paul's amazing guests.
Hello, passionate cruisers. Today I am delighted to welcome Donald and Heidi Bucolo, the creators of the popular and highly influential Eat Sleep Cruise, an award-winning blog. Eat Sleep Cruise was selected by Porthole Cruise Magazine to its list of the top 10 cruise influencers of 2019. Eat Sleep Cruise has been quoted regularly in places like Forbes, CNBC, AARP Magazine, and Porthole Cruise Magazine. Eat Sleep Cruise was featured in my second book, Cruising Interrupted, in a section called Bloggers, Cruise Community Champions. Eat Sleep Cruise brings a very comprehensive and diverse perspective to the cruise conversation. Don and Heidi have sailed all the major megaships. They tend to try out every major new ship that is launched. And they also have sailed on more intimate vessels to unique destinations like the high-end Viking Ocean Cruises and Windstar Cruises. They have sailed throughout the Caribbean and Bahamas, Alaska, Hawaii, Cuba, Bermuda, Ireland, Iceland, and Northern Europe, and experienced bucket list excursions like helicopter tours in both Alaska and Hawaii, a glacier walk in Alaska, exploring Chacchoben Mayan Ruins in Costa Maya, Mexico, a stop in St. Petersburg, Russia, where they visited the Hermitage Museum and attended the Russian Ballet, Berlin, where Heidi and Don saw the Berlin Cathedral, the Brandenburg Gate, Checkpoint Charlie, and visited the remnants of the Berlin Wall. The Game of Thrones tour on a visit to Northern Ireland, and they have visited some of the world's best beaches, including Horseshoe Bay Beach in Bermuda, Eagle Beach in Aruba, Waikiki Beach in Oahu, White Bay Beach in Jost Van Dyke in the British Virgin Islands, and the Baths at Virgin Gorda. I could go on, but I just wanted to provide you a sense for what you can learn about by visiting the Eat Sleep Cruise blog and YouTube channel. Heidi and Don, welcome to the Joy of Cruising podcast.
Hey, Paul, how are you?
Hey, Paul. Glad to be here.
Good. How you both doing?
We're hanging in there. How about you?
Good. I'm enjoying my new passion, podcasting. So before we specifically discuss Eat Sleep Cruise, please tell our listeners a little bit about yourselves.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do so. And again, thanks for having us on the podcast. You know, it's actually interesting, even though neither Heidi or I have a background in marketing our social media and cruising have actually been pretty integral to our relationship. So we first met in 2006 on a now defunct social media platform. I won't give my age away here, but actually within our first year of dating, we went on our first cruise together on Royal Caribbean's Legend of the Sea.
And we got married a few years after that in 2009. But interestingly enough, our honeymoon was not on a cruise. And let's just say after that experience, we've decided to stick primarily to cruising. Since then, we've been on, 65 or so cruises together.
Yeah.
So now I know you literally eat, sleep, and cruise, and I know that's too obvious a pun. But so what have you been up to recently? Tell us about your most recent cruise.
Sure. Well, 2022 was really a year for the record books for us. We spent over 138 days at sea on 24 cruises with various cruise lines. So honestly, this year for 23, we taken a little bit of a break.
We actually have not been on a cruise this year yet, but we did just return from Venice, where we got to tour Princess Cruises' new Sun Princess at the shipyard. And,
oh, wow.
Yeah, after seeing that, now we're kind of really eager to get back on a cruise ship.
So talk about your very influential Eat Sleep Cruise brand, blog, and YouTube channel.
I don't know if it's influential, but sure, of course. So we started, Eat Sleep Cruise was a way for us to share our passion for cruising with other travelers. So through, as you mentioned, we have our YouTube channel, we have our website, and of course, we have social media. We hope to inspire others to, as our tagline says, see the world one port at a time. So we really like to focus on honest reviews, cruise tips, and advice to help those plan a cruise vacation, because we really do think cruising is the best way to travel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So how did Eat Sleep Cruise originate?
It started about 8 years ago when we first started our blog, right? Because back then it's pretty simple. You could buy a website and just start a blog. And we thought it'd be a fun hobby and a way for us to share our travels. And then over the next couple of years, we continued writing, get better at writing. As you mentioned, you're trying to get better at podcasting. I'm looking back at some of our original articles. They weren't the greatest, but we started to improve our writing. And then as new digital technologies began to emerge, we also started to pivot and start doing stuff on social media. And then since 2019 really is when we've been focusing more on video. And you mentioned our YouTube channel. And now we do it all. We have the videos on YouTube, we have social media, we have the website. So we're actually very fortunate now that we've been doing this for a while that we reach over 1 million travelers each month across all our platforms, sharing our passion for cruising.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, I recall writing Cruising Interrupted and interviewing you. You were at sea on Freedom of the Seas when the cruise lockdown began. Talk about that. How did it affect your cruise?
You are correct. I would say back in March of 2020, we were on Royal Caribbean's Freedom of the Seas. Looking back at it now, close to 3 years ago, it's kind of surreal thinking of that experience. But, we can remember we were actually sitting in the Royal Promenade, kind of going about our cruise it was a normal cruise. And just, looking at social media, we started seeing kind of the events of the, quote unquote, outside world unfolding. And, we were watching that, cruise lines started, suspending service. And ultimately, by the end of our cruise, Royal Caribbean had also suspended service for 30 days.
Mm-hmm. So our cruise actually originated in Puerto Rico. So it was round trip Southern Caribbean cruise. And unbeknownst to us, the day before, a Norwegian Cruise Line ship was not allowed back into the port, but we didn't know that at the time. And so we were supposed to return that weekend, and we're pulling in that early morning, up early for disembarkation. And we just were too far. We were going too fast. It's like, there's no way, we must be late or delayed, because our last port of call, we actually delayed a couple hours. But the captain soon came on to say that Puerto Rico had closed the port and wouldn't allow us back in. So we were going to be rerouted to Miami, which meant we got a 2-day extra vacation out of it. And we were thankfully able to disembark. We were able to redo all our flights, and we made it home safely. And then I guess things kind of unraveled from there in the middle of March of 2020. And we would have to go over that, right? It's kind of just one thing after another in the cruise sphere. And then, of course, in the larger just global health crisis and what was going on.
Mm-hmm. Well, not too bad. I mean, you got two free sea days out of it.
Yeah, we had the drink package too, so they honored that. We had already bought the internet package, which they actually did. Royal Caribbean did, I think, a great job under the circumstances. They gave everyone some free internet access, because they knew everyone had to redo their flights or had to make different travel arrangements. So they handled the situation as best they could. But we got to go to an extra specialty dinner. We were on the pool deck an extra day. We both had to call our bosses or message them and be like, yeah, we're not going to be at work the next 2 days. Our trip got delayed. And at that point, everyone, I think, was just learning about what COVID really was. We knew what it was at that point, right, Paul? But it hadn't, quote unquote, made it to the U.S. And this is when things started to be popping up. And I think everyone didn't know how to handle it. So we were lucky that our flights were changeable. We got home as soon as we could, and the rest is kind of history.
Well, it's kind of a happy ending. I'm sure in Cruising Interrupted, I featured some other folks who were on the ocean at the time the world started to change, and their story wasn't nearly as positive. I remember a quote: "It was a ghost ship that had no country that was willing to allow them to port." So I'm glad it was pretty good for you. So when you got home, shortly after you got home, the world shut down. I imagine the pandemic shutdown was tough for you. We won't dwell on that. But what I would like to talk about is, what was your first cruise after the restart, and what was that like?
We'll be back after a quick break.
Hello, nerds. Come listen to the History Nerds United podcast, and let's make history fun again. We interview today's best authors, whether they are established Pulitzer Prize winners or someone debuting their first book. Let us show you that history is not a boring class you took in high school, but a place where the best stories come from. And we don't just cover history. We also love to chat about true crime, biographies, memoirs, and so much more. So head on over to History Nerds United and let us introduce you to your new favorite book and learn the story behind the story.
History Nerds United.
Well, as soon as they announced the cruising restart, we knew we had to be on that first ship back. So, they started announcing.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, they started announcing, these different cruises, and we were booking them kind of left and right, and ultimately ended up canceling a few of them. But I would say our first cruise back was on Royal Caribbean's Adventure of the Seas in June of 21. That had been a long 425 days since we were on a cruise ship.
Wow.
But this was technically the first ship that was leaving from North America. It was a 7-day cruise from the Bahamas, and we were there.
Yep.
Now, be honest. Did your eyes water over a little bit?
It was emotional, a happy emotional, but I would say we were just so fortunate to be back doing what we love that pretty soon after that, we also boarded Celebrity Edge, which was the first ship sailing from the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And talking about being happy, I don't know. I said at the time, I don't know who was happier, the passengers or the crew members.
Mm-hmm.
I think everyone involved in this industry who has a passion for it, who loves to travel and loves to cruise, it just getting back to that familiarity of doing something. And like I said, the crew members were back to work, we were back to traveling, and there were a lot of individuals on both those cruises. So Heidi mentioned Adventure of the Seas, and then 2 weeks later we were on Edge.
Oh yeah, about 2 weeks.
About 2 weeks. So so we hadn't cruised, like she said, for over 425 days. And in 1 month we went on 2 week-long cruises. Kind of spiraled out of control after that, but it was just good because you also saw a lot of people that you used to connect with on these trips. So you were still in touch with on social media, people like you and stuff, but then to actually see us back in our element with other like-minded cruisers. I don't know if physical tears welled it up in my eyes, but definitely emotional tears, that feeling in your heart that this is like finally after a long time coming.
Well, I tease, but I know for me on my first ship back, my eyes did water up. So what projects are you working on at Eat Sleep Cruise right now?
So as we mentioned earlier, we focus both on written and video content, and we're always thinking of new ways, like how can we expand the audience that Eat Sleep Cruise focuses on or works with. And we've always been committed to providing honest reviews and advice to our community. But as you highlighted in the book too, right, we tend to focus on some of the larger ships and the mainstream cruise lines, and only really dabbled with some of the smaller ships or luxury ships or a lot of other types of cruising that are out there. So one thing we did do during the shutdown was Heidi now actually is a full-time, I guess she's an employee of Eat Sleep Cruise, working full-time, which allowed us to, of course, still do the reviews and events, but also to kind of expand to news and other type of content, because in the past we weren't able to be that topical with news. So now we're able, that's one thing we're focusing more on since 21 and really ended 21, 22, and now 23. And then as the website grows, we actually have some writers who have more experience on some of those other smaller cruise lines or different regions of the world contributing regularly to our website. We hope that will continue to expand. And then I'm focusing on growing our YouTube channel. So I think long form video, now short form video on YouTube and TikTok. We're looking to grow that and expand, because I think, as you know, with podcasting too, that we love writing, but there's all these other great ways of connecting with other cruisers out there, and we're looking to try to utilize those tools more.
Well, speaking of the YouTube channel, well, first of all, I know that a lot of our listeners are familiar with Eat Sleep Cruise, but for those that are not, I'd appreciate it if you would give our listeners a sample of what you serve up at Eat Sleep Cruise. You recently did a fantastic post and YouTube video comparing the 9 new cruise ships. Give us some highlights of that presentation.
Oh, well, thanks, Paul. We appreciate that. Like we had said a few minutes ago, the past kind of year and a half or so since cruising restarted have really been a blur. I think, we went back and counted, and I want to say we've been on like 25 different ships since the cruise restart. So,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. It would last year specifically was a crazy year. So Don actually had the idea, since we were fortunate enough to cruise on 9 of the newest cruise ships in the world, he decided, we've written reviews about each of the cruises, but how about we compare them?
Right. So we always do our reviews and tips for each ship. But I said, well, there's a lot of obviously websites that send writers or other folks to these ships. Not many people we know have been physically on them. So we thought it'd be fun just to, which ship had the best main dining room, which ship had the best entertainment, and just focus on all, because each ship, while we love cruising, but each ship and each cruise line, of course, has things that they a little bit better at than others, the special things they focus on. And I think it did resonate pretty well because folks keep asking us, like, which ship would you choose? Which one was your favorite? And it's really tough to have one clear answer because, as you saw in the post and in the video, we might have really loved this restaurant on Celebrity Beyond, but we really thought the pizza was great on Discovery Princess, or, the entertainment on Wonder of the Seas was fabulous. So there's not one favorite ship. Some ships just do things different and better. And what we've gotten from the community is people asking us more. It's like, oh, now I never even thought of Carnival Celebration, but you mentioned it in your video. I'm going to go research it more. So it gives folks an idea of there's a lot of different types of ships out there, and each ship has the things it does well, and other ships have other things they do well. So that's the type of stuff we like to do, and hopefully can do more of.
So give our listeners a taste so we can add some ships to our bucket list.
Well, like I said, it really depends what you like to focus on. We think, and then again, these are mega ships, right? So we want to preface that these are all the world's largest cruise ships from each cruise line.
Pretty much, we sailed on, every, cruise line's newest ship. We sailed on Royal Caribbean's Wonder of the Seas, Carnival Celebration, Norwegian Prima, Discovery Princess, Holland America's Rotterdam, Virgin Voyages, Valiant Lady, Disney Cruise Lines, Disney Wish, MSC, Seascape. What else am I missing here?
That's I'm trying to think. Yeah, basically every new mega ship that came out. Yeah.
So I'm going to put you on the spot. Best food.
Best food. Well, it is called Eat Sleep Cruise for a reason. So we have several food categories, but I would say the best main dining room experience.
I say we have to give that to Virgin Voyages. Mm-hmm. We like that Virgin Voyages is not a traditional main dining room setup. They have a number of complimentary restaurants that are more akin to specialty restaurants on other cruise lines, and we think those are phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. And including the cruise fare, like Heidi said. So they have a Mexican they have a Tex-Mex restaurant, a steakhouse, Italian restaurant, and a few others. So might have caught people off guard, and we've definitely had folks who've done some of our Virgin. We've written some other things about Virgin, of course, in other videos. They've watched that video, and like, Virgin wasn't even on their radar, but now hearing about the food, it might be a cruise line or one of those ships that they would consider.
All right, best decor.
We got to go with, I think, Celebrity Beyond on that one. I would say, we always say we can't pick our favorite ship, but when it comes down to, I think, overall, like, resort vibe, decor, cruise experience, we like the kind of atmosphere on Celebrity's Edge class of ships.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I was on Beyond a few months ago, and I think that was the only one on your list that I was on, and all I can say is, oh my goodness.
Yes.
Yeah, Celebrity Beyond won a couple of categories. We also had some honorable mentions because in some instances there were some really close, like, second places and other things. So in that post too, we smudged it a little bit. There were our own rules, so we had fun. So we had like a clear winner, and then occasionally be like, and an honorable mention would go to. But yeah, Beyond, like you said, decor for a ship, because remember, it is a mega ship. It's not like a smaller 300 people. There's still a few thousand people on that ship, but I think the design is really, really impressive. But all these other ships we mentioned, there's all things that shine, like Norwegian Prima. We are a fan. We think the decor there is nice, but we're also a fan of a lot of the amenities they have on there with the racetrack. And they have a pretty cool mini golf and the outdoor stadium. And just, even though it's a new design for Norwegian Cruise Line, we did like the layout and design of it. So yeah, each ship in that review stood out to us in at least one or two categories.
Yeah, because even though we haven't sailed many Carnival ships, I know Don, you really liked the casual eats on Carnival Celebration.
Right, yeah, Carnival Celebration. I really like the setup. What they have Shack's Chicken Shack. They have the guy's hamburger joint. They have a burrito shop. They have the pizza, and they have a deli. And I thought all that's great, especially for families, because Paul, like a lot of people don't necessarily want to wait an hour and a half in dinner or sit in walk through a huge buffet in lines. So the way they set it up on Carnival Celebration specifically, we thought the food quality was good. And it also reduced the crowds. Again, a mega ship, so thousands of people, but you get the pizza and the deli in one location, you keep the burger shop in another location, you keep the chicken shop in another one. So it does prevent too much crowding. But of course, there's still going to be some lines on these ships. But yeah, again, each ship to us really shined in at least one or two categories. And now folks can make their own decision what's their favorite ship. Some people don't really focus on certain things. Maybe they don't care about the entertainment. We have a lot of friends who don't go to the shows. We love the shows. But if you don't like the shows, then you don't have to worry about that category. You can focus on some of the other categories that are important.
So you mentioned the race car track on NCL, and I'm sure you tried the Bolt roller coaster on Celebration. There's the Robotron on MSC. So who did you have for best amenities?
Oh, I would say when it comes down to those three, I've got to pick the Robotron. I would say that to me was definitely the most thrilling attraction on a cruise ship for sure.
For our listeners who are not familiar, say something about Robotron.
I would say how would you describe it? Like a mechanical arm that I think it's like a 3-minute experience, and it's a mechanical arm that twists, spins, turns you upside down.
Yeah, definitely. It's similar probably for people who are into attractions, because we also kind of love amusement park rides too. We're like big kids here. It resembles a ride you might see at like Universal Studios or Disney World, where the arm kind of hangs you. So kind of almost like a roller coaster experience. And given the technology, as Heidi said, you can turn upside down, do 360. It moves fast and quick. And then there are different levels of intensity. So for the value, it is an upcharge. All those we did mention are upcharges. It's a 3-minute experience. The Bolt's pretty cool. Hey, listen, a roller coaster on a cruise ship, sign us up. It is a short experience for the amount of money, but it's definitely something we had to try. And it was well done. I'm sure they'll come up with ways of making maybe the track a little bit longer or enhancing the experience. And then the go-karts are fun too. That's more, if you especially have a family, like you can get a family on there. That's an 8-minute ride, I think, for Norwegian.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And then you can race others, and they're coming up with new ways of enhancing the experience. Now they're even letting you do speed tests on it and different things. So that product's really interesting too. We all like thrilling stuff. So, but the good thing is if you don't like thrilling stuff, you don't have to worry about any of that. And then they have also some of the virtual stuff like MSC along with the Robotron has their Hall of Games on Seascape that has virtual roller coasters, a virtual F1 car simulator, which is really fun too.
And Norwegian Cruise Line has the Galaxy Pavilion, which has a lot of virtual rides as well. So there really are attractions for all types of cruisers, varying ages.
Well, I'm sure our listeners are going to want to check out the whole feature. So how can we follow Eat Sleep Cruise on the internet and social media?
Well, that's easy. We got lucky in that you can find us at Eat Sleep Cruise. So the website, of course, eatsleepcruise.com, and everywhere it's just at Eat Sleep Cruise. On YouTube, it's actually Eat Sleep Cruise 1, but if you just put Eat Sleep Cruise, that's us there. And you can always just reach out to us too, Don at Eat Sleep Cruise or Heidi at Eat Sleep Cruise if you want to email us and connect with us. We love to hear from other folks. We all the time sharing stories and individuals, I read this post or I'm doing research and it really helped it out. And that makes it all worthwhile for us when we hear from other cruisers who maybe read one of our reviews like what you mentioned or one of our videos, and they were able to utilize that information and have a real memorable vacation. Because that's honestly why we do it. We started, like I said earlier, sharing information because we were over planners and we were always looking for information. And 8 years ago, you didn't have a lot of places to go like today. But we want our information to be useful, helpful, so families can make the most of their cruise.
So let's talk about the future. What do you have booked?
Surprisingly, we do not have much on the agenda yet for this year. We actually have a family cruise on Harmony of the Seas coming up in May to the Caribbean. And then we have in September an anniversary trip that we booked on Celebrity Beyond. That's a round trip cruise from Rome, which visits a couple ports in Italy, Greece, and Turkey. And we have actually never been to Greece or Turkey, so we're looking forward to that. And then I'm sure with, all of the other new cruise ships debuting this year, we're bound to get on some of those as well. Just because our schedule looks light right now, that doesn't mean that's going to stay that way.
Right. Last minute bookings.
Now, when you say anniversary cruise, I take it that's your anniversary.
Correct. Yes.
Happy anniversary. When I told you that I did Celebrity Beyond, we also left from Italy, and it was our 30th anniversary. So a perfect choice to celebrate your anniversary.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Well, happy anniversary to you too.
Like I said, some places that we had never been to before, Celebrity Beyond is one of our favorite ships. So not a milestone anniversary. It's going to be our 14th anniversary, but still.
14's a good run. I mean, 30 is a great run for you, Paul. That's awesome. It's for you and your wife. So 14, that means next year on our 15th anniversary, I got to go big, right?
Thank you. So in the intro, I talked about all the wonderful places you've been, the vessels you've sailed, all of the top beaches you've sailed. With all that you've done, what on earth is on your bucket list?
Well, like Don said, he's got to go big for our 15th wedding anniversary. So I'm looking at the Galapagos or Antarctica. What do you think?
Okay, I would say Galapagos, but
okay,
you can't lose with either.
Yeah, right. No, definitely. I think both of those are destinations and regions. First off, cruising is one of the only ways to see those locales and see them correctly. But there's plenty of other places we haven't been that we'd love to get to. But I guess I gotta agree with Heidi on those. And in either order. So Antarctica or the Galapagos.
Well, I'm going to shift gears. So I want to ask a couple of fun questions and then perhaps maybe an oddball question. The first couple of questions are cruise questions. First one is kind of standard because I always am looking to steal some ideas. What's your favorite cruise drink and cruise food?
All right. Well, we're gonna have Heidi and I have totally different tastes when it comes to these. So I guess I'll go first and I'll let Heidi answer. But I would say my favorite cruise drink is the sidecar. And you can get that on probably any cruise ship, but Royal Caribbean Schooner Bar has it on their menu, and I would call a properly made sidecar. So it's my favorite cocktail. And then for food, we already kind of previewed it. I always waver back and forth. So Virgin Voyages dining rooms are great, and then I guess it edges out. It's really close with, again, Celebrity Beyond's Steakhouse. I don't know if you got to eat there, the Fine Cut Steakhouse, but that's probably my favorite.
I absolutely did. In fact, the day we were there was our anniversary, and so they found out and they brought us a cake. But yes, so Fine Cut Steakhouse has a special place in my heart. But speaking of Celebrity Beyond, I had the best meal that I have ever had on land or sea on Celebrity Beyond, and that was at Le Voyage by Daniel Ballade. Did you try that?
We did get a chance to dine there as well, and we thought that was very good.
It was excellent. It's heavy seafood, so Heidi's not a big seafood.
Oh, okay.
That is also a top choice too. So that is good. But I like seafood as well. But I'm more, if I'm going to go somewhere, like I want a nice medium rare, perfectly seasoned steak. So, but no, that restaurant we got to eat there too is awesome.
Well, I know Don said his favorite drink was the sidecar. I am kind of a martini girl myself, so I would say I do. No matter what cruise line we're on, I do enjoy a good espresso martini. The martini bar on celebrity ships is amazing. And I am fond of the Schooner Bar on Royal Caribbean ships as well. They make a great lavender daiquiri. If you had not had a lavender daiquiri, you should definitely try one. And as Don said earlier, I am kind of picky when it comes to food. I actually don't eat any red meat or seafood. So, we kind of go to the restaurants that Don wants to go to, and I find something there that I like. But overall dining experience, like we said before, I think goes to Virgin Voyages.
Okay. Now I got to put lavender daiquiri on my list. I've had a lavender martini, but I never heard of a lavender daiquiri.
I say it's probably similar, but the Schooner Bar on Royal Caribbean ships makes a great lavender daiquiri.
Okay. Next cruise question. What's your most memorable or funniest Or even most embarrassing cruise or port experience?
That is tough. We're over planners. Heidi's not one to go with the flow, so we always usually have a good game plan at port. And I don't want to jinx ourselves, but I don't think we've ever had anything major disruptions.
Knock on wood, we have not been pier runners.
Yeah, no pier runners. We have had delays in our ports. We've had so many amazing moments. I think it's really tough just to pick one. So we were able, I think last year with all those different trips, we were able to visit places I don't think we'd ever get to go, like Tahiti, for example, or Lithuania or Latvia. So on every trip, we try to do something that's memorable on every trip, regardless of the destination or the cruise.
Yeah, like Don said, I think nothing like, embarrassing or funny or anything, but I think just memorable wise, just getting to visit destinations I never even thought would be on our list, or destinations we would never get to in our lifetime.
Right.
Like I said, the one trip in particular on Oceania Cruises last year, like I said, 2 ports of call were Latvia and Lithuania. And we were just kind of, in those countries thinking, wow, did you ever think we would ever get here in our lifetime? So we've been lucky.
Been very fortunate. And you mentioned in intro too, we've been to Russia and we've been to Alaska. We've been able to go to Northern Europe, the Mediterranean, and plenty of other places we still want to visit, like we mentioned earlier, the Galapagos or Antarctica. So, and Heidi keeps me in line, Paul. So she won't let me do anything too embarrassing, because she'll just grab me, like, you're not. Very rarely. I've done a couple dance competitions on a cruise ship. I've done a couple of the activities, like Battle of the Sexes I did once, but besides that, she basically keeps me in line.
Well, as I always say, photos or it didn't happen.
Right.
And there are no photos of those, so they didn't happen.
Battle of the Sexes, actually, she's technically wrong. The Battle of the Sexes we did on Celebrity. It was a celebrity, so it was a little bit more mild than, say, like Carnival Royals version. There are technically photos of that one, but you're right. Yes, no photos, it didn't happen.
Kind of what I thought you might say when I asked about, I don't know, this can fit into most memorable, funniest, or most embarrassing experience. When in the intro, I talked about all the world's great beaches you've been to. And I wrote about in Cruising Interrupted, left a memento at one of the beaches.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Now, what am I talking about?
Yes, I would say back in 2010, a year after we got married, we were actually on Freedom of the Seas, I believe, for the first time at Coco Cay, before it was amplified to Perfect Day at Coco Cay. And Don was snorkeling, and he lost his wedding ring.
Just over, was a little bit over a year. So we were celebrating our 1 year anniversary, but it was a few months after. Paul's got a better memory than me. As soon as you started saying that, I'm like, how did that not pop into my head? Because we lost, my wedding ring. That's when I was a little bit skinnier. So my wedding ring is not going to fall off now. But yeah, it was a mad scramble. We never found it. It fell to the bottom of the rocky beach there. We were someone ran and got like snorkel equipment for me to find it. And of course, what I had to do is, as soon as we got home,
I made him go to the same jeweler that we got our wedding rings at. He had to get the exact same ring with the exact same inscription. Right. So nobody knows that this is a replacement ring.
But now the whole world knows that you lost your ring in the at Coco.
Well, they knew from your book. Yeah, they knew from your book, of course. But that, I guess.
And now they'll know, never make the same mistake.
Right. What is the mistake I made? Losing weight? I don't know what. Well, now I do. Now even though it like I said, it's never gonna fall off. Even now, when I do snorkel on excursions, I always give you my watch, and now I give you my wedding ring. Yeah, that's right. I guess that definitely fits in these categories. Yeah.
So the oddball question is: I know that you have a huge following, and let me say welcome to the Eat Sleep Cruise fans who are listening. Share one thing that my listeners and your fans don't know about Heidi and Don.
Well, I would say first, myself anyway. I know Don mentioned earlier that I do work on Eat Sleep Cruise full time now, but I have no background in social media, video, writing, anything like that. I am actually a physical therapist by profession, and I worked as a physical therapist in geriatrics for 15 years.
There you go. Okay. How about you, Don?
I guess I could say I'm a little bit of a nerd, and I'm actually a huge sci-fi fan, in particular Star Wars. And even though it makes Heidi cringe a little bit, I've actually gone to Comic-Cons and I've attended Star Wars Celebration, which is basically like a Comic-Con specifically just for Star Wars fans, back in 2019. So when I'm not talking about cruising or listening to great podcasts like yours or reading articles, I'm diving deep into fandom with other blogs and podcasts about this. But I will answer the question. I do not do cosplay only because Heidi won't let me.
All righty. Finally, Heidi and Don, please announce this week's winner of a copy of either The Joy of Cruising or Cruising Interrupted.
All right, happy to do so. So this week's winner is Tina Westbrook Thomas. Come on down.
Tina is a member of the Joy of Cruising Facebook group, so I will connect with Tina shortly after this episode airs. Heidi and Don, it has been a pleasure to reconnect with you after a couple of years. You know, I will certainly be keeping my eye on your blog and YouTube channel because I aspire to go on all of the wonderful ships you have traveled on, and I'm sure you will have covered that ship on your site. So I'll be following up with you or following you all along. But I hope that you'll be willing to come back on at some time in the future, because I know that you're constantly doing great things in cruising, and I'd love to hear about it, and I'd love for my listeners to hear about it.
Sure. Well, of course, again, Paul, thanks for having us. We'd love to come back, of course.
Yeah, definitely. I would say it was great talking with you, and we love sharing our passion for cruising.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, as they say, I'll see you on the ocean, and again, in advance, happy anniversary.
Thanks again.
Thank you, Paul.
All right. Take care. We'll be in touch.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye now.
All right. Bye-bye.
Joy of Cruising and Cruising Interrupted can be ordered at the link on joyofcruisingpodcast.com, each for $16.99 plus shipping. Order the soon-to-be-released The Joy of Cruising again, also at thejoyofcruisingpodcast.com for $18.99. For each of the 3 books, use the discount code Joy of Cruising Podcast and get $4 off. Again, the discount code Joy of Cruising Podcast. Enter to win a copy of The Joy of Cruising or Cruising Interrupted while supplies last at thejoyofcruisingpodcast.com by joining the Joy of Cruising Podcast Facebook group or both to increase your chance to win. The winner will be announced on each show. Please leave us a review and tell a friend about us. Thank you. We hope you enjoyed the brief escape to the ocean. See you next week. Exciting news, passionate cruisers. The Joy of Cruising Again book was just released. Order the ebook at your favorite online retailer. The paperback can be ordered by copying the web address listed at the podcast website, www.thejoyofcruisingpodcast.com. Don't forget to use the coupon code Joy of Cruising Podcast to get $4 off. We think you'll enjoy the new book as much as Paul enjoyed writing it, and we would love to hear your comments at the Joy of Cruising Again Facebook page or at the Joy of Cruising Instagram page. Thank you.